Good afternoon and welcome to the UNCF virtual cooking demonstration with celebrity chef Carla Hall. It is Saturday. We're here excited and ready to cook. I am your MC for this afternoon, Stacey Michelle, and I'm so excited to be here with you. It is a pleasure to have you here with us today. So I want to introduce you to the woman responsible for putting this exciting event together, Tiffany Lynn Jones, Area Development Director of UNCF. Hey, Tiffany.
Hey, Stacey. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. I first want to thank everyone for joining us today. We have an exciting event in store. This is my first cooking demonstration. I don't know about you all, and I love Carla Hall. Not only is she a phenomenal cook, but she's funny too. So this should be a very exciting hour. So thank you, Carla, for joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedule. I also want to thank our presenting sponsor, Wells Fargo, as well as our other sponsors for believing, like we do, that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. Today's program is very informal, so grab a glass of wine, a cocktail, some coffee, some tea, and get ready for an exciting event. Thank you so much, and now enjoy the next hour as we cook for a purpose.
Yes. I'm excited to cook. I've been doing a little bit more cooking this quarantine than I think I used to, which is good, right? All right. So thank you so much, Tiffany. Now, before we begin things, there are a few notes to remember while you're watching this program, okay? First, make sure you're taking some pictures. We want to know what you're doing, how you're doing, where you're cooking at, and how it's looking, all right? So make sure you upload those photos to the fancy photo booth so that we can capture these memories from today's event. You should have found that link in the email you received, or you'll also see it in the chat room as well here in the Zoom link. Second, if you have any questions along the way, please post them in our chat that we have available in Zoom. Throughout the program while Carla's cooking, I'm going to be checking those out, scrolling to make sure I don't miss any, and making sure that your questions are asked. So ask away. I'm on there checking it out. Third, make sure you have all your ingredients out and ready to start prepping today's dishes. And if for any reason you're just here watching to enjoy watching somebody else cook for you, right? Then you'll be able to catch this video after the program to try and cook these dishes as well at your home. Fourth, make sure you're having fun. That's what this event is all about. Having fun, cooking with a purpose, and to learn some new holiday recipes from a celebrity chef. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Last but not least, please consider making a donation to UNCF so that they can continue to help students across the country get the education that they deserve. If you wish to donate, please text UNCF 10 to 41444. Again, that's UNCF 10 to 41444. And remember, no amount is too big or too small, and every penny counts, okay? All right, now, without further ado, let's introduce the women of the hour, Mrs. Carla Hall. Carla is a proud graduate of Howard University, the real HU, some say, right? Where she studied business and planned to pursue a career in accounting. But her love for food continued to lead her to a different career path. Carla first won over audiences when she competed on Bravo's Top Chef and Top Chef All-Stars, where she shared her philosophy to always cook with love. Since then, she has co-hosted ABC's Emmy Award-winning popular lifestyle series, The Chew, which my mom DVRs all the time. She brightens the mornings of millions as the culinary contributor to Good Morning America, and will be featured as a judge on the Netflix show Crazy Delicious and on Food Network's Bake Away Camp, as well as numerous other shows and specials throughout the year. Her latest cookbook, Carla Hall's Soul Food, Every Day in Celebration, was published in 2018, landing an annual Best Cookbook list across the country and receiving an NAACP Image Award nomination. I'm telling you, the list goes on the achievements of this woman. Carla believes that food connects us all, and she strives to continue to communicate that through her work, her cooking, and her daily interactions with others. All right, are y'all ready? let's welcome to the screen the one, the only celebrity chef, Carla Hall. How you doing, Carla?
Hi, I am so good. Stacey, thank you for that amazing introduction. Tiffany, thank you for having me as your first cooking demonstration person, cook, chef, I don't know. And also the fact that you're blinged out in that Hampton tea, I'm like, what? Okay, that was pretty awesome. I just want to remind everybody, this is completely casual and you should be having fun. And like Stacey said, I talk about cooking with love because if you are in a bad mood, the only thing that you should be making is a reservation, okay? And those are harder to come by right now during COVID. So you need to like either change your, shake your booty, change your moody, if you're gonna cook something, okay?
I like that. Shake your booty, change your moody. That's easy to remember, right?
Yeah, shake your booty, change your moody. So today we're going to be making collard greens just in time for the holidays. And I know it may seem blasphemous to many people. They're going to be vegan. They just happen to be vegan, but they are very flavorful. And even meat eaters love these greens. We're also going to be doing the perfectly seared chicken. I think a lot of people are probably having smaller celebrations this year. So I'm going to do a take on what I might do with turkey, but you can also use this recipe for turkey and show you that dish as well. I'm going to make a lemon gremolata. So, all right, let's jump in. Stacey, are you cooking as well?
I am not cooking. I'll be reviewing to make sure I catch any of those questions coming through, but I will be asking you some questions along the way.
No, I'm glad, because then you can have your eagle eye. So I'm going to cut the collards. One of the things that, and these are really pretty clean. I keep my collards in the bunch. If they have a rubber band, you can keep that on. I'm going to just take that twist tie off, and I have them all facing the same way. Sometimes when you get them in the store, you don't see that they are all facing the same way. And if they're not, just stack them like this. And then I roll them, which I know you all have seen. I roll them like this. The reason I don't clean them first is because they're easier to clean once you've cut them. And then I take my knife and I cut straight down lengthwise, and you'll see that there's another camera so you can see an overhead shot. And now I'm ready to cut. So the one thing that I do with my greens is I cut them thinly into little ribbons. And one reason I do that is because the texture is really nice. Two, they break down a little faster before that you lose all the texture. And three, they honestly just look good. So I'm keeping the stems in. You'll notice that I'm keeping the stems in, and that's another reason that I cut them thinly. So once I get to the stem toward the bottom, I cut them even thinner because I really want that texture of the greens. So I'm just going to cut really thin, and I'm going to show you once I move my hands and you can see. And you don't have a lot of waste. So if you like pickles, you can actually take, your stems are really nice. You can take your stems and pickle them, which would be really beautiful. By the way, I have a trash bowl next to me. It's always great just to have, because you know you're gonna have the stems as trash. So, and that's all that we lose for these greens. So that's just to the side. So look at this. So you can see my stems in here. Those are gonna be really great texture, but they're not 1/2 inch, 1 inch stems. Sometimes when you buy your greens already cut, I mean, they're like little trees in there. And this is how I wash them. So I have some water that is lukewarm. It's not cold. And the reason that it's not cold is because cold contracts the greens. So I take my greens, I put them in the lukewarm water. And then I just agitate them like this. And all of the dirt and sand drops to the bottom of my pot. And you can clean leeks like this. You can clean pretty much any greens like this. And you can also do it in your sink. Just make sure you have enough water. Now, I kind of cheated because I started cutting my greens ahead of time, and because I don't want you all to, I mean, I don't need to like stand here and cook greens. I mean, cut greens for an hour, because then I wouldn't get finished. So what I do now is take the greens off the top, and then I put it in my bowl. You can do this ahead. If you can do this right now if you want to. Well, actually, you can cook your greens right now for the holidays, for Thanksgiving, and they freeze really nicely. But you can cut your greens a few days before. Just put them in a zip top bag. Okay, you see how pretty these are? At some point, I want to see what you all have done, and I know that I'm much further ahead than you are, but I want to see your greens and how they're cut. So you just grab all your greens out of the water, shake them, and you don't have to get them dry because you're going to be adding water to your greens, so it's okay. So now, so that's all done. I'm gonna just move these over to the side for now, and now I'm gonna build my pot liquor. Do I have to explain to you all here what pot liquor is? Am I gonna have to take your NAACP card? Look, you may have to take mine because I just messed that up. So pot liquor is the liquid that you'll find in beans or greens. But one of the things that I do differently is that I build my pot liquor first, rather than putting my greens into the pot with water and ham hocks or turkey. I make sure that the liquid is delicious first, and then I put my greens in. So I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to dice some onions. So I have you doing 2 onions. So you have your onions, you have the root end and the other end. The other end, you can just cut that off, and then just put it up on the cutting board like this, and then cut this right in half. Okay. And now you will see that it's so much easier to peel the skin off rather than trying to peel an onion that's whole. You see how easy that is? And it's okay if you're taking off a layer of onion, just because it makes it easier to peel.
Now, Carla, have you gotten used to not crying while cutting onions?
No, I have not. Oh my gosh, Stacy. So you know what makes it really hard with my glasses, because the gas from the onions will get under my glasses and I have to lift them to let the gas out. One secret, there are a couple things. One, have a sharp knife. The other thing is to put them in the refrigerator. So a cold onion will not be as offensive with all the gases as a room temperature onion. This one is room temperature, so it is hurting. So look, I cut that onion, and I know I cut that off, but I made those slices, but it's basically still together. I did not extend my knife beyond that root end. That's why you keep that on. And then you see the lines. You see the lines in the onion. You're actually going to follow those lines. You see those? You're probably like, oh yeah, those lines. So let's use them. Cut within the lines. Even you rebels out there, I know you want to color outside the lines. All right. So then you can cut all your onions at this point just like this, and you just push them aside. And then your next cut is just this. And now you're not chasing your onions. You're not spending a lot of time trying to cut an onion. You see that? How easy is that? Boom. Let's do the other side. Stacy, does anybody have any questions?
Let's see.
They really shouldn't. You should be cutting your onions right now. I'm just kidding.
Right. If you're typing and cutting, that might be a little dangerous.
Exactly.
All right. So there is one question. It said, do you save the ends or any of the vegetables you're cooking with to make broth afterwards?
Well, yeah, actually right now, because I go through a lot of onions, but these are perfect to do stock with, especially during the holidays. So if you have your chicken bones, your turkey bones, then this all becomes part of your stock. So I would save this. You can put it in a bag, just keep a bag in your freezer, and just pull them out for the holidays. Because I go through so many carrots, onions, and celery during the holidays that those all become very useful. So I have my onions, and I've got, roughly 2.5 cups of onions. I have a 1/2 cup of garlic. And so I'm gonna just slice my garlic. I took my garlic, and sometimes the garlic is older, so you might want to take that little green stem out because it gets a little bitter. So I just sliced the garlic. And here's a cheat for you. I was at the store this morning and they had this roasted garlic. You could use this. So I'm going to use some of these because I think that flavor would be nice. Honestly, I can't use too much garlic in my greens. I love the taste of garlic. If you have whole garlic cloves and you want to throw a couple of whole bulbs in a foil packet with a little bit of oil, you can do that just before you start all of your prep. So that'll add some flavor. And so I'm just going to cut these up the same way. And then I'm going to start building my pot. I have my pot right here on medium heat, just so it doesn't get too hot before I start.
Now, Carla, how important is your cookware? Is it cast iron, non-stick? What do you prefer there?
So here, I happen to be using a non-stick pot just because I like this pot. I just think it's sexy. I love the way it just bulges. It just looks like a nice round, but I just love it. It's okay. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, this happens to be this is a cast iron skillet, which goes also in the oven. I just happen to love this one. But I could also use this all clad, which is a heavy bottom pot. Because we're making greens and there's a lot of liquid, it doesn't necessarily matter. It's really about the size. You want to make sure that you have a nice wide bottom just for the size. And also I'm going to put a lid on it. So you want a pot with a lid. In terms of cast iron, I don't make greens in cast iron because I use the vinegar, and vinegar and anything acidic erodes the cast iron. So I wouldn't make these in cast iron, so I'm going to use quite a bit of vinegar. So I'm going to go in here right now with about a 1/2 cup of oil. And I know that seems like a lot, but like I said, these greens are vegan. And so fat is a flavor carrier. If you were going to do smoked turkey or ham hocks, you don't need as much oil. So you would just do enough oil to saute the onions. So my oil goes in, then my onions. And did you hear me? Fat is a flavor carrier. So a lot of things, when they say they're non-fat, they're getting the fat from somewhere else. It's either salt, it's either sugar. So your flavor is going to come from somewhere. All right. Now I'm just going to get a spatula. And let's talk about salt. And, in our diets, I mean, right now we're looking at COVID. Everybody's talking about how Blacks and other people of color are prone to these diseases. And mainly it's because of our diet. But if we can learn to make our dishes that we love, either with a little less salt and sugar, but also treat them like they're celebration dishes. So that you're not, I may have macaroni and cheese 4 times a year, but when I have macaroni and cheese, I really want it to taste like macaroni and cheese. I don't want any substitute cheese. I don't want any vegan cheese, but that's just me. If you're vegan, I get it. But I think that when I do make this dish, sometimes I make swaps and I'm like, well, that's just as good as the thing that I've been eating all of my life. And that means I can eat greens all the time if I'm not putting the ham hock in there. Just try it and see what you think, because we are going to be putting smoked paprika in here. So what I want, and hopefully you can see this, what I want to happen here is for my onions to get translucent. And I know that some of you all may be trying to catch up with me. One of the things that I do, because I do want the pot liquor to cook, I will start the pot liquor, and then as I cook and cut my greens, I will be putting them in the pot liquor once it's done. So I'm gonna go in with some salt. And y'all, I'm about to get on my soapbox about salt. Salt, I call compliments. Because if you don't use it, you ain't gonna get no compliments. That's a double negative, right? But too many compliments is an insult. So Tiffany, I'm gonna use you. You may say, oh, Tiffany, oh my gosh, you go back to your classroom, you go back to Hampton, and they're like, Tiffany, you look so good. Oh my God, Tiffany, you look really good. Have y'all seen Tiffany? Tiffany looks amazing. Oh my gosh. And you're smiling. You're like, oh yeah, shucks, thank you. Got my little Hampton shirt on and everything. And then they're like, oh my God, y'all seen Tiffany? And now you're like, well, damn, that's too many compliments. What did I look like before? See, too many compliments. When people keep complimenting you, that meant that the other thing, before they kept complimenting you, something was wrong with it. So that's what salt is. Too many compliments, okay?
I like that.
So right now, you should be smelling your onions. They are getting nice and soft. I'm gonna also put some black pepper in here. And not too much, because I'm gonna let the other flavors speak for themselves. So I don't really need a lot of black pepper. I don't put the onions in yet until, I don't put the garlic in yet until my onions are cooked. I don't wanna burn them. And my heat isn't too high, because what I want to do is to sweat, not necessarily caramelize my onions. Sweating is no color, translucent, no color. Caramelization is when you're actually trying to get the brown and you're going to color those onions. So I don't really want color. I mean, you can slowly, it's okay if they get some color, it's okay. This is smelling really good. I'm gonna go in with all my garlic. And if you want to get garlic that's in a tube or something, that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't necessarily taste the same, but that's okay. I'm not judging. But I think for you get to know what your choices are. All righty, that is looking so good. All right, Stacy, any questions from anybody?
Let's see.
Okay, that roasted garlic, I'm sorry, Stacy, not to cut you off, I just asked you a question, but the roasted garlic is boom, boom. Ah!
Yes.
This is the first time we were together with this. So this is my first time doing this. We're together when I like doing this. Ah! Okay.
You done updated the recipe, I tell you.
I have. A recipe's only a guide.
Now, as you're adding seasonings, do you add along the way, like a little bit of salt and taste as you go? Or, at what point should you taste what you have going on?
That is such a great question. Now, back to the salt. So when I add an ingredient, I add a little bit of salt because I want to build on the salt. The thing that you don't want to do is wait to the very end to salt, because then the salt is sitting on top and you want the salt to go into the food. It's like the church and the steeple, right? Yeah. So you want the salt to cook into the food. That's why I add a little bit of salt every time. I don't put all the salt in here now, but I just added just enough. And also note that greens have so much water, so that it's going to dilute everything that you just did. It's like salad dressing. You need to make sure the salad dressing is more acidic, more vinegary, and more salty, because lettuce is water. So I do have a good amount of salt. I know I'm going to have to add more because I want to make sure that my pot liquor is tasty, and I'll have plenty of opportunities to taste it. So right now I'm going to go in with my chili flakes, and you can add more or less of these. If you like fresh chilies and you have those, you can add chilies to it. I like spicy greens. I want to warn you that I'm doing a teaspoon of chili flakes. If you have fresh chili flakes that you just bought a new bottle, then you may want to pull back, because they will be much spicier than older ones. Okay, that's why you date your bottles too. I have smoked paprika. Okay, smoked paprika goes in, and it's a good amount. It's like 2 tablespoons. And I'm putting all of this in before I add any liquid, because right now, if you are where I am, the smoked paprika goes in and all of those flavors are starting to bloom because they're cooking in the oil. So this is why you take your time. So if you're trying to make these greens with, like, when you put your greens in, you put your liquid in, you put your ham hocks and you put all this in, and then you walk away, you wouldn't have gotten the depth of flavor that we're doing right now by cooking the onions and the garlic in this smoked paprika and in the chili flakes, okay? So all of that is looking really good. Now I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons of vinegar. All right, I know y'all, some of y'all in Charlotte, Tiffany, you're in Charlotte. You all like your greens a little sweeter than we like them sort of in the Southeast. So in Tennessee, we like vinegary greens. I think you all may like sweeter greens. So you judge the vinegar that you're going to use, okay? So it's all about the region. So I don't want to change you all's perspective. I'm not telling you what's right or wrong. Your taste buds would be the right thing. So I'm going in with some apple cider vinegar because I love me some vinegar. All right, so that goes in. All right, now here you can use water, which I'm using water, or if you want a little more flavor, since these are no ads, I love this product. This is the Imagine vegetarian no chicken broth, which I love. It tastes like chicken broth. It doesn't have a lot of mushrooms. It doesn't have a lot of carrots in it. And I want you to see, I'm gonna pour in my water. So I pour the water in over the spatula so it doesn't splatter, but I want you to see the color of this. Now this is veggie stock, and I have some chicken stock, which I'm gonna use later, and they're about the same. A lot of times when you have veggie stock, it's kind of brown from the mushrooms, and this is not gonna change the color of whatever you're cooking. So since I have it and I poured it in here, I'm gonna go ahead and pour that in here. So this is our pot liquor. Now we're gonna turn this up. We're gonna let this come up to a boil, and then, Stacy, you mentioned tasting. We're gonna taste the pot liquor and see if it needs any more seasoning. I'm sure it's gonna need some salt, so I'm gonna go ahead and add it. I know it looks like a lot of salt, but it's the lights. I have lights.
Now, Carla, you mentioned you put smoked paprika in there to help with the flavor. I know that smoked paprika is very strong of a flavor. Is there anything that it doesn't make taste better?
Well, you can use smoked paprika if you're gonna use smoked turkey. You can use smoked ham hocks, but I am using the smoked paprika in place of those.
Gotcha.
So that's why I'm using those. That's why I'm using the smoked paprika, because smoked turkey would be fine. So if you're using, let's say if you're using smoked turkey or ham hocks, you don't use the smoked paprika. You cook your onions and garlic, add in your vinegar if you're using that, your stock, and then you put in your smoked turkey or ham hocks, and then you're gonna cook that for about 15, 20 minutes until it tastes good. I mean, it's gonna continue, the flavors will continue to develop, but that's basically those are the steps. And then you can start adding your greens. So I'm gonna add my greens shortly, but I wanna taste my pot liquor first to see where I'm going. All right, so you guys, you're probably still cutting your greens or your onions, but I'm gonna move to the chicken so that we have plenty of time. Let me get out a gel cutting board.
Carla, we do have someone here that said that they read Kamala Harris's book and learned about onion goggles. Have you heard of those?
Okay, I know Kamala Harris probably uses onion goggles, but she doesn't wear glasses. So for me to wear goggles over my glasses, I don't, but I have heard of them and they do work. And so, I mean, you can just use any goggles if you are a swimmer. And I guess if they're not tinted, because they're going to seal around your eyes. And that's great. Yeah, 100%. No, it's all good. So I have some chicken breast here. I'll talk about those in a minute. So I have chicken thighs. Stacy, what do you like, thighs or breasts? White meat or dark meat?
Well, when I was eating meat, I preferred the dark meat, a little more tender, yeah.
And a lot more flavor. So you're vegetarian?
Pescatarian. So I'm
Pescatarian.
yeah.
All right. So for you, you could still do this recipe and it would be delicious. You would just use pieces of fish, and the gremolata would be really, really great. Sea bass would be great. You could actually take the gremolata and open it up and put the gremolata inside, and then have a bed of onions and put it in the oven and cook the onions and put the fish on top and let it finish in the oven for any of you all who eat fish. I also, even though the recipe called for chicken thighs, I also pulled out some chicken breast because I know some people just don't like dark meat. So this is the thing that I do. Let me get some gloves. So this is the thing that I do with my chicken thighs. And I'm going to turn on my skillet. It is okay, and I'm going on medium-high heat. I'm going to use a stainless pan. You can use a nonstick pan. You can use cast iron, which would be wonderful. I love cast iron. So you have choices. That's what, oh, what's up? I'm back over here seeing what's happening. So my stock is starting to boil. My little pot liquor, I'm gonna taste it. Woo! Oh, that's tasty. All right, let me tell you what I'm tasting. I am tasting vinegar, I'm tasting the spice, I'm tasting the salt. So I am ready to go with my greens. You all, I have my big mess of greens right here. So I'm gonna go in.
Carla, we had a few comments come through that said that this smoked paprika is everything.
See, y'all, I'm telling you, okay? Okay, I'm telling y'all, for those smoked paprika converts, yes.
And do you prefer cooking on gas or electric heat?
I like gas, but because of how this kitchen is set up, I'm doing electrics at the face you, but I prefer gas just because I'm used to it and I can actually see where the heat is. So once I get my greens in here, what I do is I turn them, they will wilt down. So I go, let me put this down. I know, right? Oh. So I go to the bottom with some tongs and I turn my greens into the pot liquor so that it starts to wilt, the hot pot liquor starts to wilt the greens down, and then I can add more. I also have more liquid on standby if I find that I need more liquid. But you will also see how much water is in the grain. So that will create liquid. So you see how these are wilting right down? Okay. And now I'm ready to add my other grains.
And how many bunches of greens is that?
I did 4 bunches. I generally do about 5. So for my holidays, I do 10 bunches because I just want a big old pot of greens and I want leftovers. Mm-hmm. All right, so then I'm just gonna finish putting these in here. If there's any, you said there's a little bit of water, I leave that in the bowl. Okay, so that should be easy peasy, honestly. And another reason why I started doing my greens vegan, everything on the table doesn't have to have meat in it. And it can be a respite. There's so much rich food for the holidays that I think that when you have something that your palate has a reset, the greens are perfect because everything else is so rich. All right. So you see I'm getting and I want you to see, I don't have that much liquid in the bottom. You can probably see it over on this side. I don't have that much liquid in the bottom, but I can always add more later. And now once these are all tossed, then I'm gonna put my lid back on and let them do what they're gonna do. And I come back to them and toss. All right. Ciao, y'all. I got a little bit of a workout from that. Whew. Okay, I'm breathless. Part of it is excitement.
And you mentioned about cooking those greens earlier, or preparing them earlier. Would that help in terms of determining whether you're cooking the chicken and how you're monitoring cooking all these dishes at once?
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of the holidays are all about managing your time and prepping and doing what you can early. So you can cut the greens early. You can cook the greens right now and freeze them, and they'll be perfectly fine, and the flavors will continue to develop. But right now, I start the thing that needs the longest time in terms of flavor development. That's why I did the greens first. And now they're out of the way. I don't have to think about them. And then I can pay attention to the chicken. But in terms of your food prep for the holiday, I say do a lot of the vegetable prep can be done ahead. Even your green beans. You can cut your green beans, snip them. You can blanch them in hot water, shock them in cold water, put them in zip top bags. You can do that 3 days before the dinner. So, and then whatever you're going to do with them, whether they are going to be seared or whether they're going to be in a green bean casserole, you can absolutely do that ahead. Now I'm going to show you how I'm prepping my chicken. So I have the chicken thighs. There's that bone, and I do bone in, skin on, because there's so much flavor in the bone. And what do you use for stock but bones? So I'm going to cut on either side of the chicken bone so that I can flatten my thigh. So here, now I have this nice flat thigh. So it's going to cook faster, but I still want the bone. You see that? And then I also went ahead and cut any excess skin off my chicken. So this is what I have. I have all of these pieces. So you can see here where I have done the chicken bone. You see that? That way, this lays nice and flat, right? All right, so those are ready. For those people who, and actually, let me get these in, and I'll talk about the thighs later. I mean, the breast. Okay.
And I like that you have on gloves, Carla. If you went from those greens to the meat back to the greens, then there's a problem.
That is exactly right. That's exactly right. And so because my sink is over there, I cannot, the cross contamination. And now I'm going to have to, I'm going to need some more tongs. So I'm going to take these off. Oh, great. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to season these. And remember, compliments, but also balancing the compliments. If you want some pepper. Now I'm going to just turn these over.
If someone has kids or family that wants to help with cooking, what part of this process would be the best to kind of include a second person?
Oh, I think the kids can wash the greens. They can absolutely wash the greens. You can have them help you get all of the ingredients out, so they'll be in tune with what goes in there. Like, hey, get out, measure the paprika and some of the ingredients. I'm gonna go into my hot pan here, y'all. There is no oil in this pan, but there is a lot of fat in the skin. So I'm just gonna go in here using the fat. Now I'm turning down my heat because I don't want to cook them too fast. And I'm not going to crowd the pan because I want to make sure that I get that sear. Okay. So I'm going to let that do what it's going to do. I turned it down to medium heat. Everything's smoking up, but you should be fine. Okay. So let's talk about the breast. I have 2 chicken breasts here. Now, I also have them on the bone. Okay. And the reason, again, I kept them on the bone was because there's more flavor. But what I did, and what I feel like when people overcook chicken breasts, so people are afraid of chicken. You know how you remedy that? Get a thermometer, because you can always tell when the chicken reaches 160, 165. I'm gonna have to turn on my vent, y'all. All right, so I've pounded my chicken so that everything is even. So when you look at a chicken breast, you will see that the tip is very thin, and where that part is over the rib cage is thick. So you're going to pound that out so that the chicken breast now you can see is the same thickness all the way around. All right. So if you're using chicken breast, this will be the perfect way to do them. So I'm going to cook at least one of these chicken breasts. And I'm just slowly rendering the fat on my chicken. And you can see here, I put no oil in the pan, yet here is oil in the pan. So, and think about how many times you're adding oil to something that you don't need the oil. And it's also okay if you use a nonstick skillet. All right, so I have my greens tongs over here. Let's get in here. They are bubbling away. Oh, they look so good. Oh my God. It smells so good in here. Doesn't it smell good? Y'all, and I have to tell you, I've been sending greens to people because I try to convert people to these greens, and they're like, you are lying that they don't have meat in them. Stacy, can you ask people how are they doing with the greens and what do they think about their pot liquor?
Yes, we have somebody coming through really about, it's a lot of chicken questions, but we'll let them come through about the pot liquor. In terms of the chicken skin, if somebody does not like the skin, is there an advantage to cooking with it?
You don't have to cook with the skin. It just keeps everything moist. So I'm going to show you the skin, and I want to know, I mean, I get it. A lot of times people don't like the skin, one, because it's a texture thing and they don't like flabby skin. I get that. I get that 100%. So, which is why I am cooking the skin slowly like this. All right, I want you to see the skin. This isn't ready yet. So look at this. It's not quite ready yet. I'm going back on the fire. And I also now have more space. I want you to see what I am looking at to see that it is not quite ready. Let me get you see that? Not ready. There is flavor in the brown. So you can take the skin off. There are no rules when you know what you like and what you don't like. All right. So
you got the salt spoon there on your cutting board. Is there a benefit to that versus taking it straight from the bottle, from the salt?
Right. I'm so glad you said that. So the reason that I am not taking it from the bottle, so I need to see how much I'm using. So a lot of times people will take the salt and they start doing this. You have no idea. When I put it in my hands or when I feel it between my fingers, I know how much salt. I'm so used to feeling the salt. And how much my three finger pinch will hold about a half a teaspoon. So I know that's how much I'm using. And the reason I put it on the cutting board versus going into my salt pig is because I was working with chicken and I didn't want to go into that salt. So I have the salt that I'm going to use. So I am now going to get out my breast.
There's one comment about the pot liquor. They say, this pot liquor is good. I hit a Patti LaBelle high note when I tasted it.
I am so glad they like the pot liquor. Oh my God, that makes me so happy. It makes me so, I'm telling y'all, it is really, it's just the bomb. All right, so I'm gonna salt these breasts. Well, at least one of them. Okay. Turn it over. Now, if you are cooking, I'm glad I'm just thinking about the person who is not using the skin. If you are not using the skin, you have to oil your chicken breast, all right? Because it's gonna stick. So I'm rendering the fat, meaning that I am putting my chicken breast skin side down. And so it is creating fat and a barrier. But if you have boneless, even boneless, skinless breasts, you need to spray oil on them, okay? Because you'll be mad at me because you didn't put any oil on them. All right, so I've got this, and I'm going down into my skillet.
We had another
Yes.
through saying the pot liquor tastes good.
Yay! I am so glad, y'all. All right, I'm still gonna push that. I'm gonna push my color.
Someone asked about using liquid smoke to get that smokiness. Would that be too much?
So liquid smoke. I really try to use as few chemicals as possible. I'm just not sure what is in the liquid smoke. That's why I don't use it, but I'm not going to disparage anybody who, if that's what you like. It, as an ingredient, it is not as consistent for me to use. So the smoked paprika is much more consistent. And yeah, let me get rid of this. Thank you. So that's how I feel about this. It's just, if you like liquid smoke and you're used to it, then do you. I mean, I don't mean it flippantly, but I think that you should own the ingredients that you like. Oh, wait, what's happened? Oh no, hold on, y'all. My fire just went out.
Well, while she's putting out fires, make sure you guys are taking photos of your food, of whoever's in your kitchen. If you're just sitting on the couch watching this, take a photo of yourself and post it to the fancy photo booth at the link you received in your email, or you can also scroll the chat back up to the top to check out that link and post your photo, because we want to be able to recap this experience with you. As well as making donations. So make sure you're texting to give UNCF 10 to 41444. All right. Carla, are you back in action over here?
I am back in action. I was like, wait, what happened? Okay. So you can see how the greens are changing colors, which you want. These aren't greens that are going to be bright green. If they're bright green, they're not cooked, but I feel like I don't have to say that to this crowd. I'm still churning them, and they're sort of braising. I can look at them and tell that they're not ready. I can tell by how they are hanging. So they're kind of going over like this. They're not tender enough. I mean, I've been cooking them long enough to know that they're just not quite there yet. Also, I want to mention, a lot of times when people are cooking, they dirty every pot, pan, string in the house. And, you know, really make a point to try to work clean, especially during the holidays, because you have a lot of cooking and as you're working clean. So by having my trash bowl, all of my trash is going in there, and I have this, all right? So, that's just something to think about. I have this sheet pan. This is where my chicken is going to land once I finish here. And because I cooked, for the most part, 70% on the skin side, I don't have to go as long on the other side. Plus, they're going to continue to cook when I come back into my my skillet. Okay. All right.
Do you have a rule, if you cook, you don't have to clean, or who does the cleaning?
Yes, I do. I do have that rule. I'm going to take this off so you guys can see them. My husband, funnily enough, my husband cooks a lot. Everybody always says, oh, you must cook at home. I'm like, no, I cook at the office. I should not have to cook at home. So my husband cooks a lot, and I will sometimes do the dishes. You hear me say I will sometimes do the dishes. He actually does the dishes. We try to do them along the way, but he's really good at doing the dishes.
Gotta have
But
that
but I do think it's funny that you mentioned that, Stacy. So the person who is not cooking, I call them the hand. And the hand should not have to put up, like if somebody says, well, I cooked, and they're like, well, look at this mess. I don't think that because you cook, you can like destroy the kitchen and leave it to somebody else. That is just disrespectful. So I think I try to think about the dishes that I'm using. I try to reuse things in my cooking process, that I don't just keep grabbing more tools and everything. So, I mean, you have to give the hand a hand by thinking through that as the person who's cooking.
Yeah, that's good. I know for me, I try to put stuff in the dishwasher as I'm done with it and just kind of clean as I go when there's downtime.
Yes, exactly.
Now, are you,
All right.
is that lined? Is your cooking sheet lined with anything, or?
No, this is just right on this little sheet pan. This is a quarter sheet pan. And it's just to stay here until I move it. But you see how I got some nice color on those sides? And this one, if you look at your skin and it doesn't seem crispy, I feel like this one can go back. It's not as crisp as I would want it to be. So you really want to render that fat. And so now, I mean, we can go through and ask a bunch of questions. I have also gone ahead and sliced my onion for my chicken dish. This is the oil. Okay. And I've got garlic here. And yeah, I may use a little bit of stock. All right. So I want to taste my grains and see how they're going. So this is a good time for me to answer any questions before I get started on the gremolata. And if you're doing your chicken, you can be slicing your onions, okay, really thin. So do the same thing that I did before, and now you're gonna cut the other just straight across, like it's for a hamburger. Half though. Cut the onion in half and just cut straight across. So you have pieces like this. All right. So first taste of my greens. Okay. They are not cooked. They're still crunchy. And I feel like I need a little bit of salt, but I'm gonna wait.
And what would the waiting be for, to see if the greens let out more flavor as time goes on?
Right, because if I add the salt too early and the liquid reduces, it will get saltier. But I feel like also I want to add a little more liquid, because you can see how there's so many greens that are sticking out of the liquid. And so it's just going to keep, it's just going to keep reducing, and the greens will be dry and you won't have the pot liquor.
And when it comes
Now,
to, I know that you're searing it and then we're putting it in the oven. Can you tell us again, if you didn't already, how much you should cook it on the stove before it goes in the oven?
So what I'm gonna do, I can actually finish cooking this on stovetop. So I'm gonna take I'm just holding my chicken here. This chicken is gonna come off, and then I'm gonna put my onions, and I wanna cook it in all of this fond, or all of these like little brown bits that have gotten on the pan. That is gonna add flavor. So look at my chicken here, so you can see my chicken breast right here. I still want to turn this one over. So you see that color? I got some good color there.
That looks good.
Yeah. Now I'm going to add some more stock. Probably about a half cup to my greens.
Do you find when you're cooking these greens, they taste a little different every time, or?
Yes, I mean, and Stacy, I'm so glad that you're asking that too, because everybody wants things to be consistent. Nature isn't consistent. What the greens tasted like last week is different than the greens you're going to taste this week. So you have to take that into consideration, and you don't want everything to be the same. And nature is not going to give you the same flavor every time. Sometimes the greens are bitter. Earlier in the season, the greens are much more tender. Maybe they don't have to cook as long. Versus later in the season, they're larger, they're more bitter. Sometimes when I go to the store and they only have those large greens, I'm like, oh, but I know they're just going to take a little more love. They're going to take a little more cooking time. They're going to take a little more seasoning. So you have to be flexible and just know what are the components of your recipe, right? So in this case, I have onion, I have garlic, I have the chili flakes, I have the smoked paprika, I have the vinegar, and then I have water. So you may decide to use more garlic, more liquid. You may decide to use chicken stock if you're using turkey or ham hocks if you want a richer flavor. So definitely be flexible. All right, so I'm gonna pull this chicken out. So this is what my pan looks like. All of this is flavor, okay? So what I'm gonna do is turn my heat down, and I'm gonna add just a little more oil. I'm going to call it encouragement, just a tiny bit, not a lot. And then my onions are going to go in here. And all of that brown, those colored, those bits, which is called the fond, F-O-N-D, those are that is going to be absorbed in the onions. It's going to give the onions some color. And I'm going with just a little bit of salt. Not a lot, because I don't know how much seasoning is left in here from the chicken, all right? Okay, so how's everybody doing?
It looks pretty good. We have one of the attendees that has her daughter helping her in there cooking the greens.
I love it. It's so good to get kids in the kitchen, because I find that when kids understand what's going into their food, they'll be more apt to eat different things. There's none of that kids meal stuff. So as I'm cooking, and you saw my pan, and not to be disparaging about the kids meal. All right, so you saw my pan, I'm gonna bring it up here. As I move my onions in this pan, you see how that color is now coming up off the bottom of the pan. And now that is what's coloring my onions. That actually is how caramelized onions are made. All right, so back on.
And how old were you when you started cooking?
Oh, I was 24. I was old, but I'm just saying it's great for the other kids. I did not cook. My mother didn't like to cook. I was interested in eating, so I wasn't really interested in food. I mean, I didn't start cooking until I had to, you know, as in survival when I was in college. and it really wasn't that good.
No ramen noodle packet creation.
Do you know what? Actually, I never had ramen noodles until I did the chew. I never did ramen noodles.
Really?
I didn't have ramen noodles until I was well in my 40s. Yeah, no, I didn't. That wasn't really my jam.
You had the real ramen that you can get on the street.
I didn't even have that. I just, ramen noodles, just period, weren't my thing. I didn't have noodles. I had tuna fish. I had like frozen dinners, but not, you know, the mac and cheese and the frozen kind. I never even had the blue box. That wasn't really my jam either.
No blue box blues. I tell you,
I didn't have
that might be Howard University, right?
All right, so my onions are cooking nicely. And now I'm going to show you a different way of treating your garlic. All right, so, and I want these onions to get nice and soft and flavorful. So I have a microplane. This is the best tool. If you don't have one, it's the best. I think $12.95 or $9.95 that you're going to spend. This is such a great tool, and I'm going to use it with the garlic. I mean, it's great for citrus, and I'll bring it out again. So I'm just going to grate my garlic into my pan directly.
And as you're doing that, the
Mhm.
shows that you've been on, from Talking with the Chew to Top Chef, what was something that you could say you took away from that experience, whether it was the tools you used or the processes?
I think for me, more than cooking, it was the being comfortable with the uncomfortable and being okay with being judged, because I mean, you present something to judges, and their critiques can be rather harsh, but you also learn from them. So that was something that I definitely learned. Before I go on, I'm going to go in here. Now that my onions are nice and soft, I'm going to go with just a little bit of chicken stock. It's not a lot. It's about, half a cup or so. And that was another reason that I didn't want to put a lot of salt in my onions, because I have a reduced sodium chicken stock. And the reason I get reduced sodium is because I want to know how much salt to put in. I don't know how much salt is what they're using. So I want a little more control. But for me, Top Chef was learning a lot about myself as a cook, pushing myself to the limits. And it taught me that, but also to know that I'm going to go into this challenge being uncomfortable and being okay with that, and saying, how do I get to the other side of this feeling of being uncomfortable, and just standing in that moment. So that's what it taught me. But also looking at the other chefs and trying to find my style. I think that when I was doing Top Chef All-Star season 8, more so than season 5, is owning my style and what that looked like. And also doing dishes like a groundnut stew in Top Chef, when they didn't really do cultural dishes or African cultural dishes. They always did Italian and Greek and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's yummy. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is nestle my chicken back in here. And I'm going to, because I have this big breast, I'm going to pour a little more stock in, just so I will have liquid to cook the chicken breast. But what I don't want to do is to go above the halfway of the chicken, because I spent all of that time trying to get that really crispy skin. So now, and I can put a lid on this, but it's gonna cook, and that'll be really nice.
We have a couple questions. One, are there any shortcuts? Can you use the garlic that's already minced in the bottle from the store?
Yes, you can absolutely use the garlic that is minced. Oh, you know what? Give me that one down below. Give me that universal top down below. I'm trying to get a lid for my chicken. You can absolutely use garlic that's already minced. Thank you so much, Kristen. All right, so before I get to that, so this pan that I had my chicken on, you see that liquid that's on there? That's flavor. So that goes back into my pot. That's like free stock. And so I'm just gonna cover my pan. Yes, minced garlic, shortcuts are fine. If I had a line of, if I could, I would sell my greens cut like this. And actually, I think I was in Arkansas, Bentonville, where they had the greens they were cut like this. You don't see them all the time, rather than that big square. This is what I would buy. I would buy it if it was in the grocery store. I would absolutely buy them. cut like this. So where are we? How are we doing with time? Okay.
And you have the lid off of the greens there. Is that to let some of the water out, or what's?
I just want you all to see it. I didn't. I mean, it's really because I'm here on TV. They would be covered. I just think that you probably want to see the food.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I kept looking at these covered pots, and I'm like, well, that's not interesting. But I would cover them. And as a matter of fact, they get cooked nicer when they're covered. So I'm going to cover it now. All right, so let's make our gremolata.
One of our guests said that you can find some shredded collards at Food Lion.
Okay, thank you, person. Thank you, guest. I said the shredded collards are the way to go, okay?
And that came from our presenting sponsor, Wells Fargo, Gigi Dixon.
Gigi Dixon, I'm loving you right now. So that would be a great shortcut. So these are the shortcuts that we talked about. You can get your garlic already done, but that roasted garlic is really great. Play with that. You can probably even get your onions already chopped up if you really want to go that route. I mean, your time is valuable. So I would say, please, if you see the shortcuts. So I'm going to take my parsley. I need about 1.5 cups. I'm going to do quite a bit of gremolata. All right. So I'm getting my parsley. I love fresh herbs, and I tend to use quite a bit of them.
I like that twist technique. I feel like I'm always plucking off.
Can you wash this for me? Yeah, I'm getting my knife washed because I had the chicken on it. Yeah, the twisting of the herbs, and they smell so fresh. So what I have here, everybody, I've got sage, rosemary, thyme. Those are the herbs that you're going to find in the poultry pack. I've got the lemons, the garlic, and the parsley. And so I'm going to just breeze through this. I know that I'm probably taking a lot of time right now, so I'm sorry. So I don't mind, again, the stems. Did you see how I gathered my parsley and I just made it really small, almost like the greens? And a sharp knife is the best knife for herbs so that you don't bruise them and you're not looking at something black. Okay, you don't want your herbs to be all black. And I try to do as few passes as possible for my herbs. Sometimes you will see people going back and forth with their herbs, but I'm like, oh, looks like it's going to be a mess. And if you've washed your herbs, you need to dry them really, really well, because the water from washing them will also create blackness. So then I turn my pile around and I go one more pass this way.
And I know these are the same knife for the chicken and the herbs. Do you prefer just having kind of that solid knife in your cabinet to use for everything?
Yes, I don't really have, I have a lot of knives because people give me knives. I use the chef's knife, maybe a boning knife, but a chef's knife and a paring knife and a bread knife. I really just need 3 knives. I know a lot of people have a bunch of knives, but I don't know if you need all those knives. So look, you see how fluffy these herbs are, the parsley? This is what you want, but they have to be really dry. And if they're not dry, you can, once we get everything cut up, we can put them in a paper towel, which I'll show you. Now, these herbs are hardier herbs. They don't really bruise like the parsley and cilantro and tarragon. Those are really soft herbs. So I don't want to do too much sage because that will be a mess. All right, so I have my sage. I have a stem of rosemary. This is where the sort of Thanksgiving feel comes in right now. Okay, and just know that if I say a stem of rosemary, but you have this little baby Christmas tree right here, that's too much. So just, you can always add more, but you can't take it out. So here's my thyme. I hold the top and I pull it down like this. If you don't want to, for gremolata, you do need fresh herbs. You can't use dry parsley. It just won't really work. Okay. All right, so I have my herbs here. I'm gonna stack my sage just like I did the collards, right?
And how often do you sharpen your knife?
I tend, like when I finish today, I will take a steel and sharpen my knife after every cook. So, but that's with just, do I have it in here? Yeah, I'll take a steel and just go. But then professionally, like with a stone, I don't do that, but maybe like once a month or so. I don't do that as often. But if you actually take care of your knives while you are using them and don't just go down to the nub, you don't have to do all of that maintenance. Ooh, that looks good. Now these herbs you can do like this because they're hardy herbs, right? You want to get these really fine. You can do this, but you can't do that with the parsley because it's too soft and it'll bruise. So now I want these to be really small. And as you can see, it's mostly parsley that will be in our gremolata.
Any cutting safety tips?
Yes. You be aware of where your fingers are. Okay. A lot of times people like the romantic idea of cutting, but they're not aware of their fingers. Curl your fingers under. A lot of people cut. I have my herb greens here. They cut with this finger. It's holding the knife like this. So you take your thumb and your index finger and hold it like this. It's actually choking up on the knife itself rather than way back here. You have more control. And as you're cutting, you're cutting going down and pulling back. That's why this knife actually has, it has this rocking motion so that you're cutting and it's this motion. But we'll have to do that next time. But yes, and then just be aware of where your fingers are, curl them back. So I'm gonna get my microplane again. And I'm gonna zest about a tablespoon of lemon. I go turn. I only want to zest the yellow because the white pith is bitter. So you see my movement. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can also just do this with your microplane so you can see what's happening. You can see the zest collect in your microplane and you can see where you are taking the zest off the lemon. And so that's all of that zest that's in there. You see that? Okay. Everybody does it differently. So Michael Simon, he has this beautiful, elegant dance. He's like, he holds the top and the bottom of the lemon and he's like this. I mean, it's just so poetic. That is not me. So I'm like this.
And what do you call that again?
This is a microplane.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, we are almost there, ready to dismount. We have all of we're almost finished the gremolata. So this gremolata, I talk about the bitter of the greens and for the holidays. This is also something that you can have that's going to cut through the richness of the things on the Thanksgiving table. You can put this on fish, you can put this on chicken, you can put this on turkey. You know, it's going to be that brightness, that herbaceous, citrusy condiment that's going to really cut through. So the garlic, I have the lemon zest, my herbs. I'm just going to mix it like this. I'm mixing everything up. I'm turning my chicken down. All right, so once that's all mixed up, you see that? Then I'm gonna add some olive oil and it's done. Oh, and some salt, compliments. I'm gonna add some compliments.
Not too many, right?
Not too many, not too many, just enough for it to taste good. If you wanna add chili flakes to this, you can. If you want it spicy, you can also do that. So I'm adding just enough oil. It's about a tablespoon of oil, just enough. Just enough to sort of make it stick together like a sauce. And if you are here with me, I know I'm moving kind of fast here, but go ahead and taste it. So it should taste like greens, like herby, lemony. Okay. Let's look at our chicken. Our chicken is, yes, cooked. Let's see about our breast. Yes. Looks so good. I'm gonna move this.
How far in advance can you make that gremolata that's going on?
Gremolata, if you keep it in, I would say if your herbs are really dry, you can make the gremolata a couple days. Don't put the oil in it, and put the herbs, wrap them in a paper towel, and just have them in an airtight, like put a paper towel at the bottom of an airtight container, right? And then you can already have that. If you do put the oil in, you can, if you do put the oil in, just make sure that you cover it with some, what am I saying? Plastic wrap. Yeah. Okay. Let me taste this and then I'm going to plate. Ah!
Ooh,
It's so good.
I like that dance.
Shake your booty. Change your moody. Shake your booty. Okay. Okay. Look, I'm going to tell you right now. If you're not excited about the food that you make, nobody's going to be excited. But be aware, but be self-aware. I'm just saying, sometimes people think things are good. You know it's not good. Be honest. I tell people, toot toot, honk honk, ah ooga when you make something good. Oh, this is gonna be so good. So I go on like this, and all this lemon herbs is going to permeate through this broth. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this like this. It's gonna, y'all, yes. Tiffany, how are you doing? You've been so quiet.
Look, Carla, I've been busy cooking.
Oh my gosh, girl. Okay, here we go, y'all. All we're missing right now are some sweet potato rolls. You know, maybe some little Sally Lunn rolls right now. Okay, so here we go, y'all. So how's it coming out, Tiffany? How are your things?
It's good. I'll show you a picture if you can see it. My chicken is done. And I made the potatoes. We didn't get some potatoes, but potatoes are done.
Wait, what potatoes? Was I supposed to make potatoes?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I went ahead and made them anyway.
Oh my God, yes, those are beautiful. Girl, I forgot I was supposed to make the potatoes.
Yep.
Oh, that looks good.
They came out great. They taste good.
Okay, y'all, I'm sorry that I forgot about the potatoes. That's easy. You bake them, but I have actually baked potatoes in my oven now. The potatoes with the ginger pepper sauce.
Brown
yes.
Yep. But everybody has the recipe. So
yes.
It was easy to make, and they are very good.
And with the ginger and the the ginger and the black pepper. It's such a great combination.
Mhm.
Okay, so sorry, y'all. So I did the hard stuff. Okay. So here we go. I've got this. Now I'm going to have my sauce, my onions. It almost feels like smothered chicken. And if you wanted to do like a quick cornbread type thing, then if you had cornbread and you just spoon that over to feel like dressing. Okay, so here we go. So there's mine without my potato.
Beautiful. I can smell it through the screen.
Can you smell it through the, yes. All right, I'm also gonna, I do have potatoes in the oven. I'm gonna do this right real quick. So there you go. Look, boom.
Boom. Great, complete. We got a veggie, a starch.
You have your meat. So get in there and taste it. I mean, I know I've taken a lot of your Saturday, but I've had so much fun. I just gotta tell you all, I really love my cooking.
That makes sense. That makes sense. If you're not dancing about it, then
You shouldn't be serving it. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. All right. So thank you so much.
Somebody's asking, do you ever make anything with butter, flavored butter?
Oh, yes. Flavored butter, compound butters. Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, when I do turkey, so with this gremolata, if you wanted to take softened butter and mix this gremolata into the softened butter and put that under the skin of the turkey, that would be delicious. You can take some shallots and cut those up really finely and add that to that. And that would be really, really great.
Now, Carla, Tiffany wants to come back on and say a few words before we close out. Tiff?
Yes, I just wanted to thank you again, Carla, for taking time to be with us today. This was wonderful. I enjoyed learning some new tips. And like I said, my chicken and my potatoes came out perfect. I didn't get a chance to make the collard greens, but I have the recipe, so we will try that next time. I want to thank all the participants who are with us today for their continued support of UNCF. And I again want to thank our sponsors, our presenting sponsor, Wells Fargo. I want to thank Gigi Dixon, Jay Everett, Margaret Fennessy, Akita Brown for their continued support. And I also want to thank Bank of America, my fellow Hamptonian, Erica Duncan, who's on the call today. Again, I just want to thank you all. This has been wonderful. It was something different. It was relaxing. We didn't have to get all dressed up. We're in the comfort of our own home, which is nice. So until next time, I'm going to let Stacy close us out, but I also want to thank Tech Factory for their help with producing this, and thank you to Natia Walker. Okay? Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone, and please stay safe.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you, Tiffany. I'm glad we were able to see somebody else cooking in the process, right? To see what it looks like, chef versus at-home chef. I think you did pretty good. Well, thank you so much, Carla. This was great. I learned so many tips even beyond cooking, just about the types of utensils, how to do certain things I've been doing that are probably wrong that I could do better with. So I hope everybody else on the call had as much fun as I did here. And thank you for submitting your questions. Carla, is there any last words to share with those watching?
I think the thing that I want to share with everybody, trust your palate and just taste, get to know your palate, what flavors you like. I know I like sour. And it's just about balance of flavor, but own your food and just have fun cooking and have a wonderful and safe holiday.
Yes. And don't forget, we've added the link too. You get a discount on Carla's cookbooks. You can find this and more recipes to cook. Is there anything, Carla, this holiday that you're looking forward to making?
I am looking forward to, everybody always says sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie. So I am like, why say or when you can say and? I'm doing a sweet potato pie with a pumpkin cream. So how's that for straddling How's that for bipartisan? What?
I might need to tune. I need to find that recipe and say that I did it too. But thank you again so much. We know you are a busy woman, so thanks for being here supporting UNCF. We know that this has been a crazy time with COVID-19, and it's had a huge impact on our students across the country, especially with HBCUs. Many students have been displaced, almost homeless, because they used to be able to go to campus and now they can't. So events like this help to raise funds for UNCF and help students get to and through college. And so thank you for your support. Thank you to those who have joined us today for your donations. You can also continue to donate via text at UNCF10 to 41444. Again, you can text UNCF10 to 41444. If you'd rather do it online, if you're not sure about this whole texting thing, go to uncf.org/Charlotte. That's uncf.org/Charlotte. So please text to donate and continue to raise funds today. And again, take your photos of your food. If you've cooked it after this program or while you're here, snap some photos. Add them to the fancy photo booth so we can capture these memories. Thank you again, everyone, for your support. I'm Stacey Michelle. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Tiffany, Natia, the tech team, everyone, and Wells Fargo. Please stay safe and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you, Stacey. Great job. Bye-bye.
Bye.